Hi, I'm Brian Dilg, and I'm here to talk to you about using flash. When I'm shooting, I find that there are two reasons why I might want to use a flash. Either I simply don't have enough light to make a proper exposure, or I want to add light for creative reasons. Now, either way, there are some basics that you'll need to know, and that's what we're going to cover today. So probably the trickiest part of using flash is that the burst of light itself is too short for us to see what it actually looks like with just our eyes. Well, digital cameras have made this a lot easier since we can see the results on the screen right away. So you'll find that some EOS cameras have a small flash built right into the body that can be opened and fired whenever you need it. And the great thing about this is convenience. It's always there, so you don't have to remember to bring it with you. The trade-off is that the brightness of a built-in flash is limited to lighting subjects about 3 to 12 feet away. Now, that covers a lot of common situations, but sometimes you may want to light a subject that's farther away from your camera. In those cases, an optional external Canon speed light can be attached to the camera. Now, those will give you considerably more power and flexibility, including the ability to light subjects as far as 40 feet away from the camera. Now, even though it's hard for human eyes to see it when it happens, the brightness of a flash can actually be adjusted over a wide range, either automatically by the camera or manually by you. It's actually the camera, not the flash unit, that measures and controls the brightness of the flash. It does this by varying the duration of the burst of light. For distant subjects, a brighter flash of longer duration is fired, while for closer subjects, less light is needed, so a shorter, less bright flash is triggered automatically. A Canon's automatic flash exposure system is called eTTL. The term TTL is industry-wide, and it just means that the flash is measured by looking through the lens. It's common to think of using flash strictly for shooting when there's no sunlight. But, in fact, any flash can automatically blend with sunlight in beautiful and really helpful ways. For instance, one of the situations that I find most difficult to do well in photography is the middle of a summer day. Why? Well, because the sun is almost directly overhead, and so people get these deep, harsh shadows in their eyes because they're set back in their sockets. Not very nice looking. Well, adding a flash in that situation, where you'd think you needed it the least, fills in those dark shadows beautifully and can really transform harsh light into beautiful light. Now, pros call this balanced fill flash, which just means using a flash to light up the shadows that are cast by the sunlight in a naturally balanced way. Putting an EOS camera into P or program mode retains that handy automatic exposure, but now you can pop up the built-in flash or turn on an EOS speed light and get that great balanced fill flash working for you. Here's a breakdown of how the components of exposure will work with flash. Again, if you're not already familiar with these, please take a look at our other tutorials on ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, the three components of exposure. ISO is going to affect the brightness of your entire picture. And since it increases the sensitivity of your image sensor, you could also think of it as extending the distance range that your flash can reach. Your aperture is also going to affect the brightness of everything in your picture. A wider aperture lets more light pass through the lens and hit the image sensor, whether it's ambient light or light from the flash. So again, you could think of an aperture as a way of extending the ability of your flash to reach subjects that are farther from the camera. Now, the last component of exposure, shutter speed, behaves in some surprising ways when using flash. First of all, shutter speed has no effect on how bright flash will be. And to understand this, remember what I said about the difference between our eyes and a camera. Cameras collect light over time, so the longer a shutter is open, the more light is collected, and the brighter the image will be. Well, that's only if the lights are on the whole time. Flash only lasts a tiny fraction of a second. However, if there is any ambient light, in other words, continuous light from sunlight, moonlight, or continuous electric lights, the shutter speed will affect the brightness of that as usual. It's important to remember because in most situations you'll have some mixture of ambient light and flash. If you've tried taking a flash picture of someone with some space behind them, you'll notice that while the person looks properly exposed, the background gets dark very quickly. Well, one way to overcome that is to use longer shutter speeds to give the ambient light time to accumulate on the background. Now keep in mind that one of the unique characteristics of flash is that it's much brighter than most continuous electric lights you're ever going to see. If you're using longer shutter speeds to try to balance flash with electric lights at night, at some point your shutter speed may get so long that you can't hold the camera steady, and you'll need to use a tripod. The final thing that you need to know about using flash is that there's a maximum shutter speed at which you can use it. Now, this is called the X-Sync shutter speed, and it's normally a 200th or 250th of a second with most Canon EOS cameras. Now, if you try to shoot a flash picture at speeds shorter than this, you'll see that only part of the picture is visible and the rest is dark. The reason is that in order to achieve very quick shutter speeds, two shutter curtains have to travel across the image sensor simultaneously. So in any given moment, only a narrow section of the sensor is being exposed to light. Because the duration of light from a flash is so short, only the piece of the sensor that was uncovered in that moment when the flash fired gets exposed. The rest of the frame is covered by the two shutter curtains. EOS speedlights have a special feature called high-speed sync that gets around this problem by pulsing the flash several times as those shutter curtains are moving. That allows you to shoot flash pictures at faster shutter speeds. Now, that's great if you want to darken just the ambient light without affecting the flash, so give it a try. Well, I hope this helped you understand the basics of using flash. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our other videos for more great information.